What does it mean to be focused? Did you know that there's several different types of ways to focus? It's not just putting your concentration on one thing. There are different kinds of focus, and we need to make sure that we're using the right focus in different situations. So we're going to break it down into two different kinds of focus: internal and external. It's very important to differentiate between these two types of focus and apply them in the right situations. So let's first define what they are. Internal focus is where you're focused on part of you or part of your body. For example, if we're working on shooting and I tell you to work on flipping your wrist on the shot, that would be an internal focus because you're focused on part of your body, making sure that it does the right thing. And that's great. That's very, very needed when we're working on form and technique. Other examples of this are getting the right body position to drive, using your elbows and your steps to get position on the other player. There's lots of internal focuses that we can use to build our technique and build our skill. What happens a lot is players get into the game and they're still trying to use this internal focus. When they're in the game, they're catching, they're still focusing on getting that follow through with the wrist. But what that does, especially in a highly emotionally charged situation like a basketball game, that can mess up the natural flow of your body. And so there's only certain specific situations that we want to use this internal focus. External focus is where we're focused on something else. And the best example of this is shooting. When you shoot, you're focused on the rim, right? It doesn't matter where, but you're focused on a spot on the rim, and that's what you're focusing on. And if that's your focus, then all you're doing is you're telling your body, I need to hit that spot. Make it happen. And that would be an external focus. By doing that, this is kind of a way that you can let your body self-organize and kind of fix its own problems without having to think about specific body parts moving. Shooting and basketball in general is a very complex motion. Everything you do requires every single part of your body to move differently. And so if you're trying to think about every single little part of that, it's going to make it very difficult to perform all of those motions at a high level. So this external focus, again, allows you to let your body self-organize and do that for you. And a lot of times it can be weird, kind of giving up that control. But if you've put the time in and built the skill, then you should be able to trust that your body can perform if you let it. That's where that external focus becomes such a big deal. Even in a training environment, there's times where we want to have internal and external focuses. For example, if a player is working on getting more arch on their shot, I could say, you need to get your arm, you need to push it up higher so that the ball goes higher. So focus on getting that elbow higher and that fall through higher. And that could work. An external way to do that would be when you shoot it, I want you to picture the ball going up and brushing the ceiling and then coming back down into the hoop. And what that allows players to do is get the same result, which is more arch, but let their body figure it out naturally. And if they can figure it out naturally, it's going to stick much better than if they're trying to focus and force their body to do something it's not used to doing. Now again, each player is different and each player is going to learn different. And there are times where every single player needs to use one or the other of these types of focus. In general, here's kind of how I think about it. Internal focus is for building skill and building form. So when you're in practice, when you're shooting by yourself, there are times where you want to get some good internal focus. Is my knee in the right position? Is my foot in the right position? Am I jumping high enough? Am I using my wrist well enough? External focus should always be the focus you're using when you're playing games. And we've talked about it before, but when you're in a game, it's not the time to be getting better. You shouldn't be focusing on building skill or technique. A game is a test of how well you've built that skill and technique. So in the game, every focus should be external. Looking at the rim, right? Focusing on the rim and saying, I need to make this shot, so make it happen. And your body's going to do that for you if you let it. So focusing on that spot, playing defense in a game. You're not worried about, I need to push off this leg and be able to get side to side really quickly when he makes this move. You're just thinking, I need to get in front of him, and your body does that for you. And that's another example of external focus. So again, both of these types of focus are very important and very necessary, but you need to understand when to use them. So internal versus external focus. In a game, should always be external. In practice and in workouts, use the internal to build some skill and some form, but then take that skill and form, and even in practice, put it in a situation where it's going to be external. The end goal is to have everything be an external focus, where you don't even have to think about it, and your body will do it for you. So think about these types of focus, pay attention to how you focus when you're practicing, and how you can implement both internal and external focus to make your trainings and your performance in games more effective.